in the municipality following the outbreak of the African swine fever in the area. The disease, which broke out some weeks ago, affected some pigs farms in Saki, a community in the municipality. The veterinary service has established that the outbreak was a result of unhygienic practices by some pig farmers. The service has consequently restricted movement of pigs within the municipality to stop the spread of the virus. Officials of the Veterinary Service Department in the Kpong Katamanso municipality say about 3 weeks ago, they were notified by some concerned residents about pigs dying strangely in farms in the municipality and some of the farmers rushing their live pigs to the market for sale. Investigations and samples carried out on the pigs showed symptoms of the African swine fever. This led to the killing of over 300 pigs last weekend. Currently, the veterinary service has destroyed 600 of such pigs. The vet officers say although the animals had been showing symptoms of the disease, the farmers refused to report to the department for prompt intervention, hence the high mortalities. However, the department has assured the farmers government is going to compensate them for the loss. The Metropolitan Chief Executive of the Kpong Katamanso municipality, Mr. Solomon Apia, and some officials of the Veterinary Service Department have inspected some pig farms around Saki and other areas in the municipality. The outbreak of this contagious hemorrhagic disease, according to veterinary officers, can spread fast and cause over 80% deaths in pigs. Farmers here are rearing pigs in clusters with poorly built structures. Most of the farmers are also accused of unhygienic practices in the rearing of the animals, which has led to the outbreak. The MCE ordered for the pigs to be killed and buried to avoid further spread of the virus. The place has also been disinfected by the Assembly for restock. Mr. James Mensah, a pig farmer, says although his livestock have not been infected, he is alarmed by the outbreak.
Okay, me says at the drone pa, Duania first me mono, like you go fat choba na other foodstuffs be free baby food for the mama ye jai. To me particularly the leaves and I'm mom when which brand na me the nyama like granite chaff ni we mo afra na me the mom nti duane bi a ye nya fra bontin a be ma infection abanu sia no ye jai e mom sa.
The news team visited the most affected farm. Owners of the farm were not around. Some caretakers spoke to the news team.
So that like yaren start here no person be boka ni nyama to mukun sanomaton ebinso da owua no ma be dem ma be shinwa onu kasa wi dem be shinu ba say omuhwe na obebewu na wa emrede a no ma chi no ma mukun no maton ama nkofo no mutun aduane no.
The district veterinary officer in Kpong Katamanso, Dr. Emmanuel Kwaupeko, speaks about the outbreak.
They are in close proximity. If they are apart, you could have zoned the area and restricted movements to the unaffected part. But because they were close, the virus traveled very fast. And the danger was that they were not disposing them very well at the initial time. They were just putting them on the trash and all that. So that accounted for the quick spread of the virus.
Dr. Peko called for strict restriction on the movement of the pigs from one farm to another to control the spread. He also urged livestock farmers to be biosecurity conscious during this rainy season to prevent any organic disease from entering their farms.
We advise farmers that in as much as possible that they are slaughtering the apparently healthy, let me put it in that way, they shouldn't move them from this municipality to another place. Because the more you move, the more you spread. Because the virus is a DNA virus, very stable, and to stay in the meat for several months.
The African swine fever is a contagious viral infection that affects domestic pigs, which leads to high mortality. The disease was first recorded in Ghana in 1999. The Deputy Director of Veterinary Services Directorate, Mr. Darlington Osu, joins us on the line. Mr. Osu, Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Mr. Owusu, thank you for joining us on GBC News.
No problem.
How
Hello?
dangerous is this infection, as we've heard from the reports that we took before coming over to you?
Can you speak a little louder? I'm a bit far, so I can't get you.
I'm asking, how dangerous is this current outbreak that we face?
Oh, well, it's what we had in 2007. That is the H5N1. It's very, very dangerous. And it can affect all kinds of birds. Some are more susceptible, some are not. But what the domestic ones are really, really, really involved, and it can kill lots of them. Yeah, and besides, it has the tendency, it can also affect human beings. Yeah.
What should farmers be doing at this time, and what should buyers also be on the lookout for?
Farmers, all that they have to do is one word: biosecurity. There are certain set of measures that we tell them to do so that they don't invite the disease inside. They have to close their farms to traffic, that people should not go in and go out. They themselves should not go visiting other farmers that are having problems. They should make sure everything that they are doing the right practice, and that is it. Yeah, because there's no vaccination for it. There's no vaccination. When it happens, what we do is we cause something stamping out, where we have to almost kill all the bears on the farm, because eventually they will die. That's it. So you have to stay safe. You don't bring anything new. You make sure your hygiene is top, and stay waiting.
We are hearing from reports from some of the farms we visited that the farmers, as soon as they notice that some of the animals appear sickly, they quickly slaughter them and sell.
That's why
should that be the best practice?
It's not the best practice. You don't have to, because as you do that, you rather expand and extend the process. You give us more headaches. So they have to stop moving them from place to place. Yeah, a lot of things are happening. We hear people trying to slaughter bears and send them. When you do that, you make it an extended process. The disease will go on and go on and go on. But if you stay put and we come around, we are doing surveillance around to make sure we can pick up those that are having problems as well. So they shouldn't move. And we've put a movement ban on movement of animals, especially poultry.
Right, so now we are talking about swine flu at the same time that there's also an outbreak of bird flu. What's the plan for this double outbreak, if I may call it so?
The plan is each one has got its own sort of protocol. Okay, for the bird flu, as we told you, stamping out, and swine flu, we could have done something, but the thing is, you don't just go destroying them. You have to destroy them and also make sure you think about how to compensate them. That's it. So all of them, we are doing surveillance to make sure wherever they are, we can feed them out and do the stamping out.
Compensation is one of the issues that has been mentioned. What's the plan to compensate the affected farmers?
The question is, the plan for compensation will come from the government and maybe donors. Veterinary, we are only to make sure we don't just senselessly kill animals. We just want to make sure those that are really affected are the ones that will deal with. That's it. So it is not a blanket thing that we can compensate everybody. No, it doesn't go like that. So that one is in the hands of the government. They will have to come up with a strategy, what we're going to do after that. If we're going to compensate, who's going to be compensated, when it's going to be done. And it's not something that I can tell you here.
Right, so that's about compensation. But what's the actual plan to stem the spread of this swine flu? We understand that some 600 pigs have been killed already by the vet service.
Okay, see, swine flu is something that from time to time comes, but they are on the small scale. But this one, I think, from what you are telling me, is going to be. So it's all about the way they keep the pigs at the beaches, very unhealthy surroundings and things like that. And some of them also feed them with swill from the ships and things like that. All these things can bring the disease to bear. And sometimes maybe when it happens previously, they didn't do a good job in clearing the place, cleaning the place, disinfecting the place and things like that. So I cannot say exactly what brought about this, but we heard that it has happened in places in Tema and Cape Coast, in Mpassam area. That's it. and they are still looking out for. So maybe more will come, or this will be the end of it. Yeah.
What would be the effect on humans if they do end up consuming pork? Because it is a delicacy and many people patronize the meat.
You see, any sick thing is a danger for you to consume, because even if it's a viral thing, it can predispose you to other infections. So the best thing is don't take it. People will give you all sorts of theories, cook it well and things like that. Please, it's a dead thing. Allow us to deal with it. That's why don't go eating it. It's a danger. If you take all those things, you are just predisposing yourself to other infections.
But how would one be able to tell that the meat they are purchasing is contaminated?
That's why those meats should be killed and inspected. Okay? They should be killed and inspected. There are certain signs that we see, and they are pathognomonic. You can see that, so this is a bird flu thing or this is a swine flu thing. Yes, there are things that we can see. So we will not even pass that on for slaughter. It will not happen.
But we are in a society where the laws on slaughtering and inspections before meat is sold have not been fully adhered to.
Yes.
So what do we do in this instance?
So the people should make sure they buy from registered places where they sell this type of things, or meat that you can be sure that has been inspected. Because if you go and buy it from behind some house somewhere, some truck bar somewhere, stolen animal, dead animal, that's why you expose yourself to a whole lot of problems. Yes, that is it. But if you go to places that we go to inspect, then of course you can be sure you are going to get something that is good. Yeah. But as you said, it is not a very developed market where people go to the slaughterhouses to slaughter their things. They just do anything, especially the choppers. They do anything they like. So now it's caution. You have to be cautious. Don't go and buy some meat that they sold so cheaply because it is cheap. You just go and buy it. You may be buying an infected animal. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Owusu. We'll have cause to engage you once the need arises. We appreciate your time. Mr. Darlington Owusu, the Deputy Director of Veterinary Services Directorate, speaking to us now on the outbreak of swine flu in the area. Key caution is for people to buy from accredited slaughterhouses where the appropriate inspections have been made, and for farmers to immediately report any mishaps to the right authorities. President Akufo-Addo has appointed Commissioner of Police Dr. George Ekufu Dampare as the new Inspector General of the Ghana Police Service. This makes 51-year-old Dr. Dampare the youngest Inspector General in the Fourth Republic. But what does he bring on board as the new IGP? Dr. Prosper Ninote Addo, a security analyst, joins us on phone. Doc, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, first of all, what are your initial impressions of Dr. George Dampare's appointment as the new IGP?
I think this is a good development. To start with, we need a fresh police service. We want things to be tackled hands-on. As you would notice, there's a lot of criminal activities, and also the fact that we need suspects to be prosecuted, issues of kidnapping, the unfortunate development of and all that. We need things to be streamlined. And so this appointment, I think, comes at a time where there's so much expectation. And we hope that with the right things put in place, things should, begin to move in terms of addressing these crimes.
Dr. Addo, what do you think the new IGP is bringing on board at this time?
Looking at his profile, he cuts across a whole lot of sectors, particularly within the police service. You talk about operations, where the focus is mainly on the issues of tackling crime. You talk about rapid responses, where he is brought up the Front Police Unit from the Armed Squadron, team. And then you also talk about the MTTU, the traffic situation in town, and also generally the protection of police officers as they go about their duties is very key. But more importantly, structural reforms within the police service, where people have been stagnant for a long time, and they need to be moved around. And so I see him coming on board, bringing in a different policing model, which conforms with democratic tenets. And from his demeanor and his nature, I think that he would get the requisite support, at least from the good ones, not the bad ones, to get the job done.
In the wake of what we've seen in Ejura with the clashes between police and military on civilians, what immediate measures and policies do you think he must put in place to improve even the police service before we even move on to the issues of tackling crime and kidnapping?
I think a couple of things. He comes across as understanding policing and the dynamics in terms of collaboration with other security agencies. And so I would expect that people who are put at different positions know what exactly is expected of them, decisions to be made which are timely, but which also comes across as responding to the issues effectively. And so when you have these personnel in place and they are well resourced and equipped, then they can do their jobs. I would see less of the military and more of the police in responding to the internal challenges. And I think this, to start with, is very crucial. In terms of strategy, he has to have the plans in place, how he wants to roll out his policing program. And when he gets these things right, I think that his duty is straightforward, because policing is clear-cut. And you just have to have the right strategy, the approach, and the partnership to get it done.
And how do you think he can also engage the public that he is now being sworn to protect to revive confidence, if at all, in the police service again?
To start with, morale in the police service itself is extremely low from, what you see and also interacting with a few. And so he needs to boost that morale to the extent that the policeman who is standing on the street projects some professionalism, exudes confidence, is respectful, but also work with people to get things done, to prevent and detect crimes, if it's possible, effect arrests, protect lives and property, and general safety. And so if you have policemen conducting themselves in that professional manner, you would see people are ready and willing to collaborate, with them. But if it just comes across as this person is so demoralized, just wants some pennies, few things here, bribe, little things, it does not really help in any way. And in addition, when you have a well-resourced police person, then he's able to execute his task without being vulnerable to criminals. So this is what I expect, that police will be visible and they would exude that confidence and also do their task professionally.
Dr. Addo, finally, before I let you go, you've spoken about the conduct of the police. Now, yes. The other critical thing is that in the midst of rising unemployment, in the midst of technology migration, even as Dr. Dampare has been appointed, what are the immediate things you expect to see in his first few days in office from your point of view as a security analyst?
Well, let me start by saying that the police to people ratio, the UN standard, is that for every police officer, you have 500 people that police officer is responsible for. Now, in Ghana, that single police officer is taking care of 1,000 people, which is double the number. Okay, so it makes it difficult. How does with just one police officer handle all that? So it's vitally important. Despite technology, you still need hands on the ground. The technology will aid, execution of tasks. It would facilitate more responsiveness, preventive actions, early detection of crime, and all that. So let us not think that, for instance, as we have technology improving, you don't need people or men on the ground. And so I would want to see a boosting in the level in terms of numbers, well-trained, recruited police officers who are able to execute tasks. But they must be well-resourced to do the job, because crime is on increase, transnational and internal. So that is very important. And when that is done, I think the other things will begin to fall in place. But above all, he needs the support of the executive, he needs the support of the Defense and Interior Committee, and he needs the support of the people to get the things done, no matter how brilliant it is. If the support is not there, and people seem to be influencing and circumventing what he has to do, there will be problems.
So much, Dr. Ado, for sharing your thoughts with us. Dr. Prosper Ninote Ado is a security analyst, and he's been speaking to us about the appointment of a new IGP and what he expects Dr. George Ekufu Dampare to do. And as he assumes office as the new IGP, he expects that police morale will be boosted and he will receive the support of the public to perform his duties. You're still watching News Hour live, and still about the special prosecutor. The new appointment by the president is the 51-year-old youngest to be appointed as IGP in the Fourth Republic and 8th youngest person to be given the position since independence. He joined the Ghana Police Service in 1990 and became a constable in 1991. He is a chartered accountant from the University of Professional Studies and holds a PhD in finance from the King's College in the UK. He served as the Director General for Administration and Director General for Welfare. He also served as Director General for Motor Traffic and Transport Department, Director General for Research and Planning, Director General for Operations, Director General for ICT, Director General for Finance, and Director General for National Patrol Department. He is credited with the idea that led to the establishment of the Office of the Armourer General, which serves as a central point for accounting for arms and ammunition within the Ghana Police Service. Inquiry Monitoring Unit with the responsibility of managing the service disciplinary system. In October 2018, the Ghana Journalists Association, GJA, acknowledged the excellent public service of COP Dr. George Ekufu Dampare by conferring an honorary GJA membership on him. He is a Christian and married with 6 children. News Hour live on GBC News. The Special Prosecutor nominee, Mr. Kisi Ajabeng, has refuted claims that he was involved in the Ejapa deal and was also a surrogate for a law firm linked to the transactions. Mr. Kisi Ajabeng was reacting to a question posed by a member of the Appointment Committee of Parliament during his vetting.
Chanced upon an article written by a man who would be your predecessor if this committee gives you the nod. In it, he says that Mr. Kisi Ajabeng is a surrogate of a law firm. Then he goes on to further implicate you as one of the key architects of the Ejapa, the botched Ejapa royalties transaction. Now, if you juxtapose these allegations with the role of special prosecutor as an entity that ought to be independent. You have your would-be predecessor, that is, if given the nod, describe you in such language. Honorable nominee, what is your take on this?
Whoever says I'm a surrogate of a law firm or implicates me in the Japa transaction clearly does not know me, because if you know me, you wouldn't make such allegations. And so all these things that came up, I took it as coming from uninformed positions, because I was not involved in the Japa transaction in any form or manner by any stretch of the imagination, however fertile. I wasn't involved in the deal. I was nowhere near it. Indeed, until it started coming up, I didn't even know what it was. For the record, that is the truth. And so I'm no one surrogate. As I said earlier, I'm my own man, and I prefer to wear my own shoes. If the law firm was named, it would have even been fair to me. But if you say I'm a surrogate of a law firm, clearly you don't know me. I run my own law firm. I've been running it since 2014 as a managing partner. I cannot be described as a surrogate of that law firm or any other law firm.
The Judicial Service of Ghana is celebrating this week as Alternative Dispute Resolution ADR Week. This week's celebration is dubbed Making Our Courts User-Friendly Through the Use of ADR. The Courts Act 1993, Act 459 in Section 72 and 73 encourage the use of ADR to resolve disputes pending before the court. And the National ADR Program provides a means of resolving cases pending in court through court-connected mediation. So far, for this week, 131 lower courts are participating in the nationwide exercise with the aim of reducing the backlog of cases in 33 circuit and 98 district courts. The National ADR Coordinator, Mr. Alex Nate, is joining us now to tell us more about the celebration. Good afternoon, Mr. Nate. Thanks for joining us. Why is it necessary to devote more attention to the resolution of cases through the use of appropriate or alternative dispute resolution ADR mechanisms?
It is very important because in our quest to achieve development in our lives, we cannot ignore the need for justice. And when you talk of justice, it means that grievances, when filed and redress is being sought, the process must be able to resolve the issues in a very expeditious and efficient manner. And from all indications, one will tell you that litigation in itself is very, very complex and slow. And for that matter, most often than not, when one goes to court, the lamentation is that my case has delayed, my case has delayed. It is for this reason that alternative dispute resolution has evolved. And over the years, we have realized that it is very effective and it is yielding the result that we all expect. And for that matter, we need to do everything to ensure that everybody comes on board when it comes to the use of ADR for access to justice.
Are there special categories of cases that can be referred to ADR?
Yes. Cases such as commercial cases, landlord-tenant cases, land disputes, matrimonial causes, that is family disputes, debt recovery, and all that, except cases that are criminal cases of felony, such as murder, armed robbery, defilement, rape, and those criminal cases of felony. Other than that, any other matter, except in several cases where there is fraud, any other matter is amenable to ADR.
As a country, we are told that for over 10 years, the Magistrates Court have been offering court-connected ADR for litigants who opt for the amicable settlement through mediation. Would you say it has been impactful and successful?
Very, very impactful, very, very impactful. And that is why we are doing everything possible to ensure that everyone in Ghana is aware of ADR and how to assess it whenever there is, a question of redress. Even 2020, when COVID interrupted human activity, the performance of the ADR program was in the region of 48%. And so you can tell that we cannot relent when it comes to strengthening ADR in our justice system.
But then if it's an option and not mandatory, then how do we encourage more people to go through that option rather than sticking through the court system?
Good things that are optional are the things that people must be encouraged to resort to. Good things that are optional are the things that people must be encouraged to resort to. And so what we are saying is that ADR is fantastic. Even though it is optional, it is in the interest of everyone who has a case in court to resort to it because it is less expensive, it is faster, it helps you to sustain the relationships you need to make the impact you want to make in life.
On that note, how do people access ADR services?
By virtue of the ADR program that the judiciary has incorporated in our adjudication system, a right is conferred on anyone in court to find out from the judge as to whether his or her case is amenable to ADR. The judge also has the ADR program as a tool to manage his or her case. And so when the need arises to the judge to resort to ADR, he or she also recommends it to the court users.
Sorry, I was listening to your last point earlier, and I just want to make the case that there are some who believe that the court system in itself is too expensive. And as you've said earlier on, it's a cautiously slow process. And there are people who think that the challenges that you have encountered, if you share them, could help them find their ways around it. So how are you resolving the challenges that you are encountering in this ADR process?
Well, ADR, as we have spoken, really, that is very, very efficacious when it comes to the resolution of disputes. It has proven very, very reliable when one resorts to it in seeking redress. The challenge we have is lack of information among court users. And we want to do what we can to ensure that there is information out there among members of the public as far as ADR is concerned, so that whenever the need arises, it could be resorted to. And so apart from the usual resistance to change that is synonymous with every new intervention, there is no any other problem that we can talk about that is militating against the ADR program.
And I've heard you on other platforms talking about refresher engagements for staff of the judicial service. Have those been done, and what has been the outcome?
It is an ongoing exercise. It is a profession, it is a skill that people on board must be proficient in. And so it is a continuing activity that we need to carry out every day. So even today, we just closed from a refresher for mediators for the northern region. Yesterday, we ran a refresher for judges in Tamale and Eastern Varon. And so it is around the country and every legal year term.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nartey, for sharing part of your day with us, and we wish you a fruitful ADR week. Mr. Alex Nartey is the National ADR Coordinator, speaking to GBC News for the occasion of ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution Week, which is being marked this week ending Friday. You're still watching News Hour on GBC News. The 3 persons arrested in connection with the death of social activist Ibrahim Mohammed alias Kaka at Ijra in the Ashanti region have appeared before the Asokwa District Court today, Thursday, July 22, 2021. They were accompanied by a team of armed policemen from the regional police headquarters. The suspects are Isaka Ibrahim, Hussein El Hassan, and Idi Mohammed. Our Ashanti regional correspondent Razak Baba joins us on the line with a report. Razak, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Selma.
What's the latest from the Asokwa District Court?
Well, actually, the shooting just ended. Asokwa District Court, presided by Her Worship Ekua Edubuahe, has actually adjourned hearing of the case involving these 3 suspects linked to the death of Ibrahim Mohammed, alias Kaka, to August 12th. This is to allow the police to gather more evidence for the prosecution. In fact, they were brought to the court by a team of armed policemen from the regional police headquarters this morning. The suspect, as you all know, Isaka Ibrahim, Hussein Al Hassan, and Idi Mohammed. Looking at their face, in fact, I'm tempted to believe they might have regretted if indeed they are involved in this heinous crime. We had an opportunity to witness the encounter between the judge and then the prosecutor. The head of the regional police legal and prosecution unit, Chief Superintendent Kofi Blagoji, prayed to the court for another 2 weeks to close up investigations, and also pray that, in fact, those in their custody will also be remanded for additional 2 weeks in order to get more information about the killing of this Kaka.
Thank you, Razak. Yes, we can hear you so much, very clearly.
Well, you know, the man, in fact, the 3 who were actually brought before the Asokwa Circuit Court, clearly there were some issues that has to do with who will lead them or the lawyer that will actually defend them at the law court. It was only this young man, Ibrahim, the Kaka's brother, who had a lawyer to defend him. Unfortunately, the 2 couldn't get any lawyer to assist them in defense. So we are hoping in 2 weeks' time, the remaining 2 will also get the law courts.
Right, Razak, thank you so much for sharing those details with us. Our correspondent, Razak Baba, has been covering the court appearance of the 3 persons arrested in connection with the murder of social media activist, popularly called Kaka Atijra in the Ashanti region. He's saying the case has been adjourned until August 4 to allow time to gather more information to try the case and also to gather